Good day, everyone. Today I'll be discussing the early social and political structures of the pre-colonial Philippines, focusing on the three main points: the datu, the barangay, and the kinship ties. Number 1. The datu. In pre-colonial Philippine society, the datu was the highest political and social leader of a community. The datu held authority over a group of people and was responsible for governing, leading in war, and maintaining the order. The position of datu was usually hereditary, passed from father to son, although personal ability, bravery, and leadership skills were also important. And number 2, the barangay. The early Filipinos live in small communities called barangays. The term barangay comes from balangay, which were boats used by the early settlers to travel and migrate. Each barangay usually consisted of 30 to 100 families, although some could be bigger. The barangay was both a political and social unit. It functioned as an independent community with its own government, customs, and economy. And last, the kinship ties. Kinship ties played a crucial role in Philippine society. Family connections were the foundation of relationships and political alliances. Loyalty was first and foremost to the family, and extended families often made up the core of barangay. The kinship networks ensured mutual support and protection. In some cases, barangays allied with each other through marriage ties or blood compacts, strengthening their security and influence. Conclusion: in summary, the early Filipinos organized themselves around strong datos, independent barangays, and deep kinship ties. These social and political structures allowed them to survive, thrive, and defend themselves even before foreign colonizers arrived.
The Malolos Constitution of 1898 was the first Republican constitution in Asia, drafted by the Filipino revolutionaries to establish an independent government after the centuries of Spanish rule. It created the first Philippine Republic with Emilio Aguinaldo as the president. The Constitution emphasized civil liberties, the separation of powers, and a dichromatic framework. However, the independence was short-lived. The Philippine-American War broke out in 1899 after tension rose between the American forces and Filipino nationalists. Filipinos expecting a full independence after helping defeat Spain resisted U.S. occupation. The war was brutal, with the heavy casualties on both sides and a devastating effects on civilians. It officially ended in 1902, but years' resistance continued for years. Following the war, during the early American occupation, the U.S. established control over the Philippines. They introduced public education, infrastructure projects, and new political system, but also suppressed nationalist movements. American policies aimed to prepare the Philippines for self-government. But full independence wouldn't come until a decade later.
Good day everyone, I am Suminiano RJ from BSMT 3Y2-3, and today I will be tackling the three topics of the Spanish colonial period, the Katipunan, and the Philippine Revolution, and the Constitution of Biak na Bato in 1897. So the Spanish colonial period began in 1565 when Miguel Lopez de Legazpi established the first permanent Spanish settlement in Cebu. Over the next 3 centuries, Spain reorganized the archipelago into province and pueblos, introduced Catholicism, and built schools and churches. However, beneath this development went widespread abuse, including forced labor, the encomienda system, excessive taxation, and land concification, fueling the anger of Filipino and resistance. In 1892, Andres Bonifacio founded the Katipunan, a secret revolutionary society dedicated to achieve independence, and the member took blood oaths. So royalty through the Kartilya ng Katipunan and spread their network across Luzon. They are rallying cry was death to Spain, liberty to Filipinos. On August 23, 1896, the Spanish authorities discovered the Katipunan leading to the historic cry of Pugad Lawin. Filipino revolutionaries tore their cedulas, symbolizing their open defiance against Spanish rule, and officially launched the Philippine Revolution. Fierce battle erupted, especially in Cavite and Manila, with leaders like Bonifacio, Emilio Aguinaldo, and George del Pilar rising to prominence. By May 1897, revolutionary leaders gathered at Biak na Bato in Bulacan to draft the first Filipino Constitution. The Constitution of Biak na Bato established a Philippine Republic, created executive, legislative, and judicial branches, and guaranteed civil rights. Although the eventually led to a temporary truce and Aguinaldo exile. This constitution laid the early foundation for future efforts toward Philippine independence. That's it. Thank you for listening.
My topic is American colonial policies and elections 1901 to 1916 and the Jones Law of 1916 in the Philippines. First, American colonial policies elections. After the US took control of the Philippines following the Spanish-American War and the Philippine-American War, it implemented policies to establish civil governance and introduce American democratic ideas. Key developments 1901. The Philippine Commission headed by William Howard Taft began civil governance replacing military rule. 1902, the Philippine Organic Act was passed setting up a bicameral legislature, an appointed Philippine Commission, and an elected Philippine Assembly established in 1907. First, Philippine Assembly elections were held, allowing Filipinos limited participation in governance policies and focus on public education, infrastructure, and public health, but ultimate authority remained with the US. Despite some representation, Philippines continued to push for greater self-rule and independence. Jones Law. This law marked a shift toward greater Filipino autonomy, was a major step toward eventual independence. And lastly, replaced the Philippine Commission with the fully elected Philippine Senate, creating an all-Filipino bicameral legislature, declared the U.S. intention to grant independence once a stable government was established. And last, expanded Filipino participation in governance and policy making. Thank you.
The Philippines during the late 1950s and early 1960s experienced a significant shift in economic policies under two different leaders, President Carlos P. Garcia and President Diosdado Macapagal. Each administration had a distinct approach towards the country's economic development, reflecting different strategies in achieving national progress. Under President Carlos P. Garcia, 1957 to 1961, the government adopted a policy of economic nationalism known as the Filipino First policy. Garcia believed that Filipinos should have greater control over the national economy, which at the time was heavily dominated by foreign businesses, particularly American firms. His administration introduced measures to prioritize Filipino entrepreneurs in accessing loans, government contracts, and important licenses. Protective barriers were placed against foreign competition to nurture and strengthen local industries. Garcia's goal was to make the Philippines more economically independent and self-reliant by empowering Filipinos to play a central role in economic activities. However, when President Diosdado Macapagal assumed office in 1961, he shifted the country's economic direction towards liberalization and an open economy. In summary, the economic policies under Garcia and Macapagal reflected two contrasting visions for the country's future. Garcia emphasized economic independence by protecting Filipino businesses, while Macapagal promoted an open economy that welcomed foreign investment and global competition. This transition from protectionism to liberalization make a marked major turning point in Philippine economic policy and reflected the broader debate on how best to achieve national progress.
The Marcos era 1965 to 1986 in the Philippine country, particularly under President Ferdinand Marcos, was a critical period in the country's history. And the 1973 Constitution played a major role in shaping the political landscape during that time. Martial law is the temporary suspension of civil rights and civilian government, placing the country under military control. In the Philippines, Ferdinand Marcos declared martial law in 1972, allowing him to rule by decree, suppress opposition, and extend his power beyond constitutional limits. The 1986 EDSA People Power Revolution was a peaceful and historic uprising where millions of Filipinos gathered along EDSA to protest electoral fraud, dictatorship, and abuse under Ferdinand Marcos. It led to the end of his 21-year rule and the return of democracy, with Corazon Aquino becoming the new president. The 1987 Constitution is the current fundamental law of the Philippines, created after the fall of the Marcos dictatorship. It restored democracy, ensured the protection of human rights, established a system of checks and balances, and limited the powers of government, especially the presidency. It reflects the ideals of People Power Revolution and promotes freedom, justice, and equality for all Filipinos.
The post-war Philippines during the Third Republic was a good marked by a significant recovery, by development and struggle for stability, and devastation of World War II. The Third Republic began in 1946 when the Philippines officially gained independence from the United States. The first president of the Third Republic was Manuel Rojas, who took office in 1946. He faced the immense challenge of rebuilding the country after the war, which had left much of the nation infrastructure in ruins. Rojas worked on rebuilding the economy, reviving trade, and addressing the needs of war veterans. Despite his efforts, his administration faced criticism due to the continued influence of the United States over the country. Economic and military affairs, especially with the presence of U.S. military bases and the continuation of U.S. economic dominance. Elpidio Quirino. After Rojas died in 1948, Elpidio Quirino became president. Quirino's term was defined by efforts to rebuild the country's economy and strengthen the political system. He focused on securing foreign aid, especially from the United States, and implemented programs to rehabilitate war-torn areas. Quirino administration also worked on settling the Hukbalhap insurgency, a communist-led rebel group. While his policies led to economic growth, his presidency faced accusation of corruption, which eventually led to his political decline. Ramon Magsaysay. The most popular figure of the Third Republic was Ramon Magsaysay, who became president in 1953. Magsaysay is remembered for his strong commitment to the common people, earning him widespread popularity. His administration focused on social justice, improving the lives of the poor, and addressing inequality. Magsaysay implemented reforms that targeted the elite's control over land, encouraged land the distribution, and fought against corruption. He also promoted industrial development, and his leadership in the fight against communist insurgency won him administration. Sadly, his life was cut short in 1957 when he died in a plane crash.
Good day everyone, I'm Christian Katulay from BSM 3Y2-3 and this is my report. The Commonwealth period of the Philippines, established under the 1935 Constitution, marked a critical transition towards full independence from the United States. The 1935 Constitution provided a framework for a republican from the government with a clear separation of powers among the executive, legislative, and judicial branches. It was designed to prepare Filipinos for self-governance after century of colonial rule. Under the Constitution, Manuel L. Quezon was elected the first president of the Philippines Commonwealth, a statement to the country stride toward. During the Quezon administration, significant reforms were implemented that shaped the nation's future. President Quezon prioritized the development of the national identity, establishing Filipino as the national language to unify the archipelago's diverse linguistic groups. His administration also tackled land fraud, attempting to address the economic poverty and landlessness of many Filipino farmers. Additionally, Quezon foresaw the looming threat of war and strengthened the country defense capability. Despite his achievement, his administration faced present challenge, including economic equality and the growing danger of global effect. The stability of the Commonwealth was shared when World War II reached the Philippines. In 1941, Japanese forces invaded, leading to the collapse of the Commonwealth government and the beginning of the Japanese occupation. In 1943, under Japanese direction, a new constitution was created, leading to the establishment of the Second Philippine Republic. And this is my report. Thank you.